You can feel it. You come to Bedford and you can feel it.
Paul Stouffer's 20-year trek,
Yeah, first time I've ever been here.
is nearing an end.
This is beautiful.
His journey began in Bozeman, Montana.
The smallest one, that's the education hut.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
1,700 miles and a suitcase full of emotions later,
I almost can't believe I'm here.
his elusive bucket list item stands before him.
It's great to be here. I mean, it's good to finally make it. I mean, I've heard so much about this place.
The National D-Day Memorial in Bedford draws tens of thousands of visitors every year.
It's just an amazing presentation.
None more awestruck than Mr. Stouffer.
It's really impressive what they've done with the water effects.
For this historian, June 6, 1944, ranks as one of the most important dates ever. A day that changed world history and his family forever.
The most iconic photo of my uncle Bill McGowan.
Paul's uncle, Lieutenant William McGowan, was killed when he was shot down, the pilot's P-47 slamming into a field behind Omaha Beach near Moon Sur El.
The plane was heading into the village, and he nosed it into the field before the plane went into the village.
The witnesses there can still remember the plane burning for more than 24 hours.
The Minnesota native was married and a journalist when he joined the military. He was just 23.
The nature of the crash was so horrific that their remains could never be recovered.
Paul absorbed stories about his late uncle when he was a boy, the tales sparking a lifelong obsession with the invasion.
He was the symbol of the liberation. D-Day is a name that, is certainly a date that a lot of people are familiar with. Bedford, Virginia.
This D-Day memorial, a natural destination for Paul.
William J. McGowan, Eddie W. Harding,
The landmark
Vernon V. Reich.
honors his uncle and more than 2,000 Americans who perished that decisive day.
Long overdue. This has been a place I've been wanting to come to for a long time.
Of course, we were delighted when a relative of a D-Day fatality is on site. We're their spot. That's why we're here.
John Long serves as Director of Education at the memorial.
We certainly want the McGowan family to understand how much we cherish his memory as much as they do.
This trip to Bedford means more to Paul ever since a recent phone call.
When the farmer had found a few of the charred remains, he had actually buried them below the propeller before the village had been evacuated.
A modern forensics team from the Defense POW MIA accounting agency found pieces of remains at the crash site. In 2019, using DNA provided by Paul's family, Lieutenant McGowan was positively identified.
I got the call 3 weeks before the 75th anniversary of D-Day and his plane crashing.
During Paul's own visit to Normandy, a villager gifted him pieces of his uncle's plane.
The gentleman who found it witnessed the crash as a 15-year-old.
Also removed from the field, the wings Lieutenant McGowan was wearing when he was killed.
He wanted to fly, and he wanted to fly fighters. And so he was going to do everything he could to be a fighter pilot in World War II.
I think what it says about Paul is that he cares very much about the legacy of his uncle.
The D-Day Memorial's Angela Lynch says Mr. Stouffer's story personalizes the distant war.
But then to get to hear from a family member that said, this is what this meant to my grandmother, this is what my mother told me, is just incredible.
With Lieutenant William McGowan finally accounted for, Mr. Stouffer says he feels even closer with the uncle he never knew.
It could have been 5,000 miles, and I would have been here.
A pilgrimage to Virginia.
This has been a place that I've wanted to go to for a long time.
For Paul Stouffer, a chance to honor the legacy of his loved one who was once lost and then finally found.
It's humbling. It's very humbling. He was missing in action as far as the government was concerned, but we weren't going to forget about him.
There is a Virginia connection to Lieutenant McGowan. His 366th Fighter Group was founded in Richmond in June of 1943. Lieutenant McGowan's remains will be buried at the Normandy American Cemetery in the summer of 2022. Paul Stouffer will be attending the ceremony along with his family. For I Have a Story, I'm Greg McQuade, CBS 6 News.